Well, let's see. What time is it? It's 9:50 p.m. on Thursday, October 24th. And, sorry, I'm laying in bed. This is Andrea's log. I haven't videoed in a while. I've been too busy working and a lot of stuff, and I'm just real tired. But I wanted to stop real quick and document this, I guess. My son's mother-in-law, Tiana, died Monday. It's Thursday now. Is it Thursday? Yeah, so 3 days ago. Anyways, we went to her viewing tonight, and all I can say is that Tiana, over the last few months, taught me a lot about forgiveness and unconditional love, and I will deeply miss her. I really hoped that she would make it. Because I didn't want her daughter or her husband, or especially our little grandson, to go through grief, because it's horrible in a way. I really thought that God wasn't done with her here yet, is what I thought. Well, and yet there's a part of me that knows that, honestly, in some ways, she's the lucky one, because she's right there with Jesus, right there with God. Totally nothing separating her from the Lord anymore, and how freaking awesome is that? So as much as I'm going to desperately miss knowing that she's there for her children and grandchildren and her husband, she's not hurting anymore. So anyways, I went to the viewing, and my little grandson Michael was so extremely close to Tiana. He called her his Oma. And that's to be understood, because the first couple of years of his life, they lived with her, him and his mom and dad. So when he was born, he came home to a home that included his mom and dad and his Oma and Opa. And so they were very close from day one, just like I am with my granddaughter Destiny. Doesn't mean that I love my other grandkids any less. It just means that I have a different bond with her. And so here's this little 5-year-old boy, Michael, who just wants his Oma. Long story short, we get to today, and we go to the viewing, and he went with his mommy and daddy and said his goodbyes to his Oma. And he came back out and sat with me while his parents were doing something else. And he told me that he got to say goodbye to his Oma. And I told him I was happy he got to do that. And he said, well, I know that her body's gone, but where did she go? And I just kind of looked at him and I said, what do you mean, where did she go? Well, her body's there, but where did she go? And I said, are you talking about her spirit? And he said, yeah. And so Michael loves all things universe and geography and maps and planets and all that stuff. So I said, well, Mike, let me try to explain it to you this way. And I said, when you go outside and look in the sky at night, do you see stars? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, have you ever been able to touch a star? And he said, no. And I said, why not? And he said, oh, that's too far away. And I said, but you know they're there. And he said, yeah, you can see them. And I said, well, if the sun's out, are the stars still there? And he said, yeah, it's just that the sun's so bright you can't see them. And I said, okay, so the stars are still there though, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, your Oma's spirit is kind of like that now. You can't see her, touch her. You can't touch her anymore. But if you're really still, you can see her and feel her around you. If you pay attention, it's kind of like when you go outside in the dark and you look and you see the stars twinkling. And she's like a star that you know is there all the time, and she'll always be there for you. It's just that her body got too tired, and someday you will meet her again in heaven. But until then, she'll always be around you. She'll always be there. And he said, oh, okay. And I said, Michael, that's not something you can do with your brain, your mind. That's something you have to do with your heart. And he kind of smiled and he said, I know that. And I'm like, okay. And then he kind of looked at me and he said, Gigi, are you going to leave? And I said, you mean like Oma? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I'm not planning on it today. But nobody ever knows when it's time for them to go to heaven. But I hope it's not for a long time. Because I got a lot of stuff I want to do. And I want to watch you grow up. And I want to have fun with you. So I hope I don't. And he said, well, what if you do? And I said, I tell you what, Michael. Every night when you go to bed, you ask God to help me live another 120 years. And we'll see how it goes from there. And he said, okay, I'll do that then. And he smiled, grabbed his iPad, and went right back to building his World War I maps in Minecraft. So I got an education in geography by way of World War I boundaries. This coming from a 5-year-old. I love that little boy so much. I love all my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But I love that little boy. He has such a beautiful heart and such an amazing spirit. And he's intelligent way beyond my years. And so, Cedric, if you happen to watch this, if Mike is praying that I'll live 120 years, that's what that was about. I don't know, it just came out of my mouth. I guess because I'm always joking with one of my grandkids that I'm going to live to be 120. Anyways, I'm reminded today that life is brief and we should make the most of it and love each other as much as we can and not let the little stupid stuff trip us up. So, Tiana, I know you're one of the best badass guardian angels out there, along with my dad and others there in heaven and in spirit around us. So please take care of our little grandson, both of our little grandsons now, and our great-granddaughter. My goodness, I know you're still around in spirit, and I love you. Victoria, Cedric, Michael, Bob, all of you, my kids, grandkids, I love you very much. Sweet dreams.